Hey guys, this is Andre, the founder of All About Tattoo India, a platform to connect, share, collaborate, and most importantly, support one another while we push the boundaries and challenges in representing India. Welcome to Inking Stories. Today's discussion is on independent realities. Our moderator and good friend is one of the leading indie cinema makers of Asia. Let's welcome Q.
Hello. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
What's good?
Hey,
Um,
Q, I
Q, I
think
can't hear you,
you're
bro.
on mute.
Q, yeah,
can't
we
hear
can't hear
you.
you, Q.
Yeah.
Yo, can you hear me now? Hello,
Yeah,
hello,
yeah,
Yes,
yes,
hello.
Yes.
yes,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah, great.
Great.
Cheers. So we gather here today in Inking Stories. Um, Thanks all about Tattoo for bringing us together. I am Q. I have been an independent film producer, director, a part-time musician and rapper, um, and I run my company called Odd Joint, which is fiercely independent. One of the reasons that word is quite important to us today is because we have four indie um, stars, so to speak, from different fields. We have Yangdol, all the way from Sikkim.
Hello.
We have Zake uh, from Bombay or from the world, the streets of the world. So we have Tej, who needs no introduction. He's well known in music circuit as one of the major influencers um, and people who really organize shit together. Shyamli, who's a brilliant tattooist and come to us from Delhi today. We're going to have a chat about independent realities, fearless explorations by unconventional minds. So, that's pretty heavy. Uh, so, as you can see, I'm kind of in darkness. Tonight, we will shed some light on this idea of fearlessness and unconventional mindscapes. We'll start with Yangdol. Why
Sure.
don't we um, uh, hear your story about how you stepped into this unconventional field?
So, I have a tattoo studio in Gangtok. I tattoo out of my private studio. Before this, I used to work in Bangalore. I used to freelance in ink over matter, and I used to work in other commercial spaces. But I always wanted a studio of my own in back at my hometown. So yeah, I've been tattooing in Sikkim for a while now, and there are a lot of social stigmas regarding tattoos in Sikkim. I mean, the community is made up of Nepalese and Tibetan community here in Sikkim. I'm Tibetan. I'm Tibeto-Sikkimese, so I've been doing a lot of Tibetan style tattooing, but I face a lot of struggles here because in the Tibetan community, it's considered almost like a sin, as in like they say that there is problems during the death process if you have a tattoo on your body, and you'll get unfavorable rebirths. And it's also considered to be disrespectful when you're having like Tibetan motifs and elements from the religious Thangka paintings. And Tibetan art is mostly religious, so that's one of the challenges that I face. But at the end of the day, I approach it as a fine art, and my intent is not to disrespect it. So, trying to change perspectives here in my own little way possible. Um, I try to educate people about customizing art and not doing copy paste work, and yeah, represent our culture in our tattoo art. It's pretty much it.
Perfect. We'd really want to know more about the,
Okay.
conventions there, and your struggle with it.
Okay.
Why you think, and as we all know, because we've been talking a little about this,
Yeah.
your quest in understanding the value of the traditions
Uh,
and how you want to come
there's
with your art.
the struggle here is not a
But we'll come
legal
back to
one.
that. We'll come back to that
Sure,
in a
sure,
while. We just
sure.
go. Let's just meet everybody first. Zake,
Okay.
um, please. I mean, go ahead. You are going to go to Brazil soon, so
Cool.
we are all
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
seriously.
That's sick.
yeah, no, no, no. I actually already went to Brazil the last year
Oh,
before the lockdown.
okay.
Yeah,
It's done.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I was like one of the first artists got like from India to be invited, like first graffiti artist to be invited in a international graffiti festival. And I come from a time where I didn't even know like festivals exist, like I just did graffiti because I loved it and I saw it in some hip hop videos that I used to watch. And then I'm like, hey, maybe I can't rap, but I can do that shit that I can, like on the wall. So yeah, like I picked up I actually like started cluelessly, like I didn't know anything about it. I just thought that the world is my canvas sort of a thing, like those is some like place where people see, and I was also frustrated with where I come from and all the things that I'm going through, you know what I mean? Like I lived in a slum, so everything was like pretty hard for us, man. I've seen like shit happening, domestic violence, drug abuse, this, that, everything around me. So I just wanted to like go out and express, and I thought like a piece of paper is too small for me, man. I want to like write my stuff, like actually where people can listen to me. So I think I had like sort of like these certain guys who came in my life after 2 3 years of like doing graffiti, like these foreign artists, like there were two German artists who were painting uh, on a public toilet, bro. Like, and that has always been like a part of my life because I grew up and I couldn't complain about it, like, but that was the place that also changed my life because I went there and I spoke to them and I said, hey, are you a graffiti artist? And then they looked at me, and I was a kid, right? I was like 17-year-old, and they said, yes, dude. And uh, then I asked them about the spray can they are using, like, are you using Montana can? And they turned around and they said, are you a graffiti artist? I'm like, yeah. So they said they didn't know any of the graffiti artists like who ever existed in India, And I was like, I just begun, like I don't even know like where can I get these spray cans or what can I do with it. So they showed me some things, and in 6 months' time, bro, like they invited me to Germany for a festival that like it was an exchange project. So they had gotten some artists, and I got the chance. It was through the embassy and everything, and they were doing this project. So that's the time like I was also joining an art college. Like I thought, I'll do something in art so that I have a backing. But I wanted to do fine arts, but which I didn't do. I did commercial arts, which I hated because it was all about advertising. But I also learned one or two about like how can I advertise myself. So I think that whole knowledge just helped me throughout. And later, after a few years, I got this chance to go to Brazil and like represent India. And so I went there twice. Like the first time, Hall Apparel helped me, get the tickets and I think no, both the times actually, yeah, both the times they helped me. So it was great, like I could visit all these places for free, like coming from where I had no money and like now being all over the world. It was a crazy experience.
That's
Yeah, I think
crazy. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Zake's story is really super cool. As is, you know, some of us know about it. We'll know more about the crazy aspects of these lives, but let's do the intros first. Stage, do you want to go next and tell us a
Yeah,
little
for
bit about
sure.
your super cool shit that you're doing right now?
Thanks, man. Q. Thanks for hosting this panel, and I want to say thanks to Andre and to All About Tattoo for inviting me to participate in this. Also, my name's Tej. I own and operate a company called Third Culture Entertainment, based here in Bombay. We're primarily an artist management company. We also do a fair amount of event production. Most recently, we have just started a record label, which we announced last Friday. It's called Export Quality Records, and I think in the music industry, it's pretty difficult to make a living, right? Which is why we've kind of diversified into a number of different revenue streams, which is why we do management as well as events, as well as now this record label. We were never really big on the content space, and I hate calling music content, but that's the world we live in 2021. And with the pandemic and with how things have shifted, with the lack of live experiences and the lack of live music, or the opportunity to present live music, we've had to pivot the business a little bit. I've been working as an artist manager in India for about 10 years or so. Some of the festivals that you might know that we've done before are like Goa Sunsplash, Neon East Fest, which was in 2019, headlined by Muramasa and Little Dragon. And yeah, I mean, we do a fair number of tours around the country with artists that we represent as well. Some of the artists include J Babe, Kayan, Raja Kumari, Young Raja from Singapore, Sarathi Korwar, quite a handful of different people. So, thanks for the opportunity to speak on this. And yeah, that's my intro. Looking forward to the discussion.
Great, super. So we come to Shyamli, who has been rather quiet till so far, but has something mega to drop now, which we know about. Please,
Yeah,
Shyamli,
I mean,
take it
it's
away.
really cool. It's really cool to even hear everyone's stories right now. I mean, I don't think I knew of like Yangdol or Zake's stories at all. So I'm super glad I'm here and like joining you guys in this talk. Uh, I started tattooing, I think, like 10 years ago, and purely by accident, I think. I mean, I loved tattoos, but I was working as a graphic designer. Uh, and I met Lokesh, who eventually mentored me and whose studio I worked at for like the past 10 years. Um, I feel like I got into it because I just wanted free tattoos. I really just wanted to keep getting tattoos, and I was like, where better to work if I want that? And then it eventually, I think it like took a solid number of years for me to come to terms with the fact that this was a form of art that I really loved doing and that challenged me. And it was only like a couple of months ago that I finally decided to break away from devil's tattoos and start something of my own. And in about, I think, like another 20 days, I'm launching my own studio space, and it's called Studio Pandemonium. So far,
Sweet.
yeah, that's my logo. The
That's
I
awesome.
think I spent the most amount of time just working on the logo itself. Right now, the space, like, I'm gonna have to like do a queer eye do over for the space in like some 3 days of time. The name itself, it honestly, it took so long for me to even come to the name. And like, but once the name sort of came into being, the brand automatically, like the values and who I was and what the space to be, just like fell into place very organically. I can actually like keep talking about it because I've thought this to death. But uh, essentially, the studio space I wanted to like really focus on, like challenging the status quo a little bit and being a feminine space because I feel like mostly tattoo art, like tattoo studios, not just in India but like world over, have been like very like masculine in a way, and I wanted to bring this like feminine energy which is also strong and set up a space which is like very different from something that exists so far, I think. I'm going to work towards it, I'm going to solidify it, but right now, yeah, I'm really like excited to keep sharing updates and have the space set up and really just like pedal to the metal sort of thing for the next few years on this.
Perfect.
Yeah.
No, that's great. Congratulations and more power to you. Like, more power to Indies. And let's start talking from the past. Like, how Zake talked about the toilet wall, and that's really cool because I really feel close to the drain. He feels close to the toilet wall. We have our, we know where we come from, kind of from the, you know. So
Yeah.
for the others, like Yangdol, how did you come to choose such a vocation? Like, why are you not a doctor? Yangdol, can you hear me?
Ooh, I think Yangdol
Oh
is.
no, she's frozen.
Yeah,
We've
I think
lost
even Tej
her.
is no. I think
Okay,
Yangdol is
stage
gone.
take
Yeah.
over. When did you suddenly realize that, I mean, you wanted to work backstage?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up playing music with my brother. My brother is 2 years older than me, and he's a drummer. And I think you guys have actually played some music together as well.
Yes,
You know
we
my
have.
brother pretty
We
well.
have. Indeed.
And
Yes.
yeah, so I grew up with Veer, and when Veer was about 10, he got a drum set. I would have been about 8, and I got a guitar, and then just kind of grew up playing music with him. And in spite of my parents' best intentions, for me to go and do a real degree, whatever that means, basically when I graduated high school, I just decided that I needed to do something related to music. I wasn't sure what it was going to be, but I knew it was going to be something to do with music. Up until that point, I was kind of preparing myself for like a career in like international relations, something to do with diplomacy, something like that. But when it came push came to shove, and I needed to take a call and kind of go to college, I was like, I can't really see myself doing anything except for this. But to answer your question specifically, the moment when I decided that I was going to do this was I was 14 years old and I was in Washington, D.C. My family had just moved to D.C. and I saw the Deftones on the White Pony tour playing at the 930 Club in Washington, D.C. And
Nice.
Okay.
right before the band got on stage, there was a bunch of roadies setting their gear up, checking the mics and making sure that the bass was right, making sure that, the guitar, Steven's guitar was there and Chino's vocal and everything. Those guys just looked so badass. They were like covered in tattoos and, wearing black and everything. I thought, man, these guys are the real rock stars, like it's not even about the
Yeah.
musicians that are about to come on, these guys are really
Yeah.
doing the business, so
Mm.
I think that was it, and then the band came on and just absolutely demolished, so for me that was a defining moment, and 14, it was no turning back, basically from that point.
Perfect. Yeah. So, I mean, Zake, apart from the toilet wall, do you have like that moment of, I mean, there was the outside toilet wall, but you had the access to the insides of the toilet walls and the phone numbers.
Yeah, so
You want to talk
inside
about?
is the real game that used to happen, bro. So
Yeah, dude.
like yeah, like everybody used to like try to talk converse with each other, like write number and draw shit that like obscene shit, you know what I mean? Like, but it was crazy. It was a type of communication that I discovered later, like it's actually like people are actually trying that number, bro. You know what I mean? Like, or people are actually doing, and thought used to go like it. I used to go inside that. But yeah, but it
we
changed
are
my life
we are
completely.
fans
Yeah,
of the desperate, as we well
yeah.
know.
So yeah,
Male.
so when I also saw these art painting, they were shitting on like they're stepping on shit, bro. Like when they were like painting that wall, they were like there was a mob of people like around them and trying to touch shit because it's happening in the slum. So and these are like two white guys in the slum with spray cans and they're painting. It was like a different for them, yeah, back in 2012,
Like a spectacle almost.
bro. Yeah, so they were trying to like touch them and all. And I come like this young dude who just asked him about graffiti, and so he was surprised. It's different for him. But yeah, the toilet looked like really dope, dude. For a while, it was the hip hop
What
corner.
about you, Shyamli? What was your defining moment
For
when
me,
suddenly you cease to be a normal person?
oh, sorry,
Sorry,
I
what?
think your voice sort of broke
I
there.
think it's for
Oh,
yeah.
hello, hello. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
back again. No, Shyamli, I was asking you whether what your defining moment was when it all
Oh, I mean,
turned.
I don't think I was ever normal. I think it was more like I think for a lot of us, I think who are in the like more creative sort of fields, I had to come to terms with the fact that I was not normal and embrace it and then run with that, and that's when like shit started happening. I think like while you're trying to sort of like like shape yourself to fit some sort of mold, at least that did not work for me at all. And it was only when I was like, this is not working for me. And it happened pretty early on for me because I went to art school and they kind of encourage you to be weird. So for
Right.
me, the weirdness was there. It was more about like, I think respecting, like having respect for the art form, like realizing that it's not just like art isn't just about like do what you feel. It is technical. You need to learn it and you need to respect it. And once that sort of started happening, I think it happened about like 2 or 3 years into like me actually tattooing. I was like, I need to let go of this like egotistical thing where I'm trying to prove to myself that I already know everything. And when I dropped that and I started to like learn it again is when like real growth started happening. uh, and I think as I've also gotten older, I'm like now 33. I think I've gotten like way more comfortable in my skin, and everything that you sort of like reject from your past a little bit, at least that I did or didn't embrace, I'm like embracing more and more. Like even the name for the studio, for instance, comes from my dad's like blog that he had back in the day, where he would put up like his poems and his like artwork and his photographs. And I love the name because essentially the word was used by like white civilized folk to describe the day when they traveled to like foreign hours, to like describe the hysteria that they saw when they like observed tribal folk. And I come from Orissa, from like my all my grandparents belong to tribal families, and I've like grown up with a lot of like weird little rituals and like ghost stories and all of these things that uh,
Right.
I really wanted to like pay homage to because I love that shit. Like I grew up on it, and I want that to be a part of like me, like and the brand going forward. Yeah, yeah.
So, when we were talking the other day, Zake talked about street cred, and I was thinking about that. The fact that in India, the idea of street cred is something that is not recognized at all, and kind of we are all kind of suckers for it, because like Tej, what you talked about the roadies, and how we kind of are into the lifestyle of the independent artist. And I would just interject here to say that what am I doing in a panel like this, and I was asking Andre as well. And I realized that I don't really have filmmaker friends. All my friends are like artists of other kinds, and that the fact that where I feel comfortable is in a more independent setup, where rather than the craft itself. So for us, it's more the craft is something that you work on, and you earn the respect of your peer group. And for us, that remains the most important thing as an independent artist, rather than getting
Yeah,
recognition, like public recognition, right? Where we
that's
are
true.
always sort of hoping that our friends and the other artists in the community respect us and our work, and we respect theirs. So from that angle,
Yeah.
how do you go about doing that? Like how did you go about setting up your looking at the personal and social challenges, and then setting that benchmark that, okay, this is the quality standard, because there's no standard, right, in our country for these things. So how do you approach that? Like that's interesting, because we don't have ready reckoners, any references.
I would say for
States.
me, it's more of an energy thing. It's way less formal. Kind of thinking about like, okay, does this person fit with me? Should I approach them and have them be a part of my thing? Like, I can't really speak to everybody else here on this panel, but when you're in the music industry, you spend a lot of your time at bars and a lot of your time at gigs, right? And those are generally pretty
True.
social places, and for me, Q, you also know this. I mean, in the music industry, there's a gamut of every kind of person. You're going to come across all of them. And I think for me, the qualifying factor has always been somebody that just is like-minded as me, shares the same value system and believes that certain things are worth doing and worth promoting and worth supporting and worth pushing forward, even if there's a mountain ahead of you, right? If it's going to be an absolute nightmare to push it up this hill, maybe it's still worth pushing up the hill, and for me, it's always been about that. It's always been about getting with like-minded people, whether they're artists, festival directors, label heads, A&R guys. I mean, you name it. You gotta share a value system, and if you share that value system, then I think you're just gonna kind of click off the bat.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Welcome. Yangdol is back.
I'm sorry about that.
Welcome
Welcome back.
back.
Really
He left
bad
us.
connection
Yeah,
here.
and these are the times that we live in. Digital lag is where
Yeah,
all
I'm
the
so
shit is
sorry.
happening. So Yangdol, we
Yeah,
spoke
yeah.
a little bit about you. You missed out that part of the
Hmm.
conversation, so I'll just bring you
Hmm.
in. I was asking you
Yeah.
why were you not a doctor, and
Okay, okay.
how did that suddenly happen? I mean, what was that point where you found that, oh shit, I am a tattoo artist?
Yeah, so I actually started really young. I was around 18. So my teacher, my art teacher in school, I had fine arts in school itself. I was quite lucky at that point of time. There were like two seniors of mine who were tattooing at that time, and I would like sneak out of tuitions and go to my teacher's studio and just see how those guys are working. And yeah, it was really old school back in the day. Like we would like there was no proper methods of sterilization and all that shit like back in the day. Like I think it might be around 10 years ago now. Um, so yeah, I started really young, and then my parents found out, and they were really mad at me. Um, I went to a normal college. I went to do my BA in Bangalore, and after that, like I started apprenticing here and there in local Bangalore studios. I started working there in Bangalore itself, and then I started to learn about the sterilization process and how a studio actually works. I worked in ink over matter. I worked in a lot of places in Bangalore, and I think working in Bangalore, in all those places, somewhere in between that line was my calling, I think. I don't have like a pinpoint to say like, oh, I'm going to be a tattoo artist. Like I always knew that I'm going to be a tattoo artist, like ever since I was like 18 or 19. So yeah, um, and now I have my own studio, like I told you.
Perfect. We were also
I'm
talking
sorry,
about
I don't have
building
like a
value. Yeah,
building
don't
value.
worry.
Yeah, for me, like
Yeah,
the
we were
experience
talking
is
about
important. Yeah.
yeah, how you build value for something unconventional, and how you know go
Mm-hmm.
about
Mm-hmm.
facing challenges at a personal and social level. Tage spoke
Yeah.
about it. Zake, you want to add something there? How has your process
Um,
been?
uh, I think I struggled a lot with understanding that I can monetize through something, you know what I mean? So I've been always doing graffiti for destroying stuff, you know. That was my whole like agenda, I guess, like till a point when I realized this is art, bro. You know, like you're actually forgetting the point here, and you know, like, and then I started to also like how Shamli said, you know, I wasn't always looking at the technical stuff. I was like, yeah, go and just like scribble, like that's like, you know, but there is so much that goes into it. And when I joined like college and I learned like, you know, I really started respecting it, of course, because um, yeah, but I had the nag of it for like since birth, you know, like I always wanted to scribble, or I always wanted to do stuff, you know. I could visualize stuff, see stuff like differently. So yeah.
Hmm.
I think in terms of the tattoo
Perfect.
industry, and even I think like something like graffiti, it's been a I think it's been a process that's not an individual endeavor, but like the entire
Yeah.
community sort of coming together and building value for it. Uh, because like 10 years ago, for instance, or 15
Yeah,
years ago, I don't think
true.
like people knew why they were paying for what they were paying for. Like even now, it's like, why am I paying you so much for a
Yeah,
tattoo?
yeah,
And because now
yeah.
they're like,
But
it
still,
is
like
it's still a nascent industry, but because they're like, huh? This whoops, sorry. There's so much talent in the country that I think people are slowly, it's like a process of people seeing what good tattoos or what graffiti looks like, and
yeah, yeah,
understanding it, like there's a general growing knowledge and appreciation for it. And I think the same even goes for the music industry. I think they you would have noticed like more and more people are appreciating what we
Yeah.
think is better music. I know it's like really subjective, but there is a growing
Yeah.
number of people, and I think it is like the onus is on us to sort of like set that standard, like to keep pushing
yeah,
that like glass ceiling
yeah.
so
Yeah,
that
that's
people
Yeah.
will
yeah.
like,
Yeah, I want
yeah,
to like
because I don't think
congratulate
people know what they
every
want.
artist, you know, like yeah, but that's what like we set the standard. Like I think like all of us right here, you know, we made it possible for them to even understand like what like nobody could understand graffiti, yeah. You know, they were like, why are you painting this? Who's paying you for this? Which company? And all they used to ask me. So I used to
Yeah.
like, what do I say? Like, it's from me, dude. You know, I'm doing art. This is art.
Yeah.
So I think we did a good
Yeah,
job at, you know, being at it so that, you know, like now people get it finally.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
You know,
I
Q,
don't. I
going
still
back.
think they.
Sorry, go ahead,
No, no, go
Shamli.
ahead. No, I was just going to
I was
add
saying,
to the
Q,
same
going
point.
back.
And say, I,
Yeah.
All you, Shamli, all yours. Go for it.
I've actually completely forgotten what I was even going to say now. Take over.
Don't
Go
worry.
for
I
it.
was gonna say, going back to Q's earlier point, I think about hanging with people across mediums and across different forms of art. Like, I think that's one of the really beautiful things about the creative industry here in India right now. It is, while it's a large industry, it's still somewhat close knit. And I think that a lot of people across different mediums, are familiar with people who are doing interesting or cool work to kind of push the envelope forward across mediums, you know. And I think a lot of it, you know, when it comes to like, you know, choosing your circle or people who you're with, I think a lot of it comes down to mutual respect and inspiration, you know. Coming across creatives that you're like, man, that's awesome that you did that, you know, like I really love that beat, or I really love that music video you made, or I really love that piece of art you did, or that tattoo you did on my friend, you know. You kind of have a mutual respect for their work, you know, and hopefully um, that appreciation of their work is something that inspires you. And whether it's looking at a piece of art or a piece of graffiti like what Zake would do, or a tattoo that Yangdol has done or Shamli's done, I think ultimately it's just about, man, that's really awesome, and I'm gonna take
Yeah,
that energy and take it forward in my own practice, you know, and in my own life. So I think it's really unique in India that, you know, like I don't do the same thing that anybody else here does on this panel, you know, but I think there is a mutual respect for each other's forms and styles that they do
Yeah,
across mediums.
yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
Absolutely. Like, I was thinking that there's this difference, right, with tangible sort of forms of expression and intangible forms of expression. When intangible is the surface, that you choose to
Hmm.
put your art on.
Yeah.
So when you put it on a piece of canvas or skin, there can be some valuation to it. But when you put it on a toilet wall or into public ears, value seems to be very, very dodgy. Like, for instance, we know now that musicians have been fighting a big battle with valuation. Like, no
Yeah.
indie film musician actually gets any value of their craft. There's no real value that people see. I mean, yeah, give me that song for free, play for free, I'll listen to you. I mean, thankfully, that shit is not true for tattoo artists, because they will
yeah,
still pay to get on their body. You
yeah,
have other challenges. They would want their designs for you to do that. Their designs, that's another whole challenge. But Zake,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you have that this challenge of monetization that you talked about. Let's just finish this value question. Actually, come back to that and say how did you manage to do that? Like, what did you find out?
Yeah, see, like, I understand that artwork is not of value to me, but I also understand that it's going to be seen by a lot of eyes. You know what I mean? So if I choose the right spot, I will have these people get attracted toward, like, you know how I started learning graffiti is because when graffiti artists came to India, they saw me on the street and they tried to search me on Facebook, you know, and that's how I got the like contacts. And I told them I'll take you to spots. And I think that like putting it out on the street creates that value itself. And especially in a world where you go out and you see like people are trying to sell you stuff all the time, right? Like there are only ads. And then in the middle, like if you see a graffiti piece or if you see some artwork, you just stop and look. It's like music, it's like an escape. So I think that really like made me understand that it has value, and I should, also like I got the first job like asking me on the street if I could do this in the house, and they said, "Oh, I can pay you," and I was like, "What?" That's like something I wouldn't think of. Like I didn't because for me, I'm telling you, like I was just very tunnel vision. I was just like bomb, bomb, bomb. Like that's what we call like bombing, like bomb in the
Right,
streets, right?
bombing.
So yeah, so I was just bombing. I wasn't like, ta- and now I've like, uh, now there is just like so many things I can do. Like especially like collaborating with other artists. I'm into music videos. I'm like stuff like that, which is great, man. Like I'm meeting other artists, so it's awesome. Like I also started rapping like recently, so I I meet these rappers and I'm like, hey, this is like cool, dude. So, and then I started tattooing. So it all comes together. It's just like a form of expression. I think somewhere where it lacks you can put it out in another form, like if I can't say something through my visual art, I can say it in my rap. It's like just
Right.
expanding.
Super. I mean, we obviously will come back to this conversation about collaboration because that's one of the key
Hmm.
highlights of our session today. But before that, like Shamli, you went to art school, so you know about various kinds of media that you could use to express, and
Yeah.
so did Yangdol. So the
Yes.
fact that we are talking seem to be the discussion constantly seems to go towards a sort of a collaborative point where better options of or options of better valuation may present themselves. Like even what Ted said, that we are working in such a niche, that one has to do events and representation and this and that. But maybe that is something intrinsic to what we are doing here and how the world is turning. And it's kind of this disciplinary, multiverse,
Yeah.
multi-window operation.
Mhm.
Shamli, you want to
Yeah.
Yeah.
say something or
Actually,
start this off? Then you
um,
Uh, I have to say though, like I realized the last lockdown that I had only one skill, which is that I know how to draw and paint, of course. But it's like basically, I felt like I had made too much of a niche for myself. Like all I know how, all I know to do is to draw on like various surfaces and like various canvases, I guess. Uh, but even within that, I feel like how you spoke of your friends not just being filmmakers but also like artists of other kinds. I think what's added value and like what's really pushed my skills as well has been to surround myself with people who do other things, uh, because I think everything sort of like feeds into each other. And I don't know if I can do, I don't know if I like excel in across like various disciplines like Zake sort of does, but I definitely am inspired by them. Like the company of like somebody who paints really well or writes really well or makes great music or is just like has great business acumen, like it adds uh, to what I can, like to my output eventually. So for me, yeah, I think like community is everything, and like the ability for people like us to like continue to like push each other and like support each other, I think is going to be really key in us sustaining ourselves. I think it's in our best interest to look out for each other as well and to sort of like, yeah, sort of like pave the
foster
way
each
for each
other.
other a little bit. Yeah.
Yangdol, you want to add something?
oh, I just wanted to say that during the pandemic, uh, I supported myself selling prints and doing some graphic design work. I worked for Rubin Museum of Art from New York. Yeah, so that was how I was supporting myself. I mean, I wasn't tattooing. I'm still not tattooing, but I'm doing album artworks for musicians, and I have
That's amazing.
friends in the music industry too. So that's how we support each other, and very excited about the new project. Mm, yeah.
Yeah, we'll
That's
come
cool.
to that in a
So
bit.
Yes.
It's still a
sorry, but
surprise.
tattoos are still not happening in Sikkim. Is there a lockdown
It is
going
it
on
is
right now? I'm not
happening.
sure.
It is happening, but right now I'm just prioritizing on releasing my merch, and I'm working on an album artwork right now.
Cool.
So yeah,
Cool, cool, cool.
I've taken a break because I had COVID.
Oh, right.
I
Yes,
just
Oh,
recovered
nice.
from
yeah.
COVID, so
Nice.
yeah, just taking a break from tattooing.
Damn.
So, I mean, collaborations, Tej, do you think are, we were talking about hybrid ideas right now because the world has shifted, and you were talking about how the hybrid model is is the only model that we have for this, at least this time, that is in in between times that we are going through right now. Um, do you think that collaborations bring more value to projects, and especially in the independent space?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a huge takeaway from the pandemic as well. You know, one of the really interesting things I think that's kind of come out of the pandemic is like, you know, if you talk about collaborations just with musicians, right? There's so many people trying to make records with each other, so many people trying to get verses from a singer or a rapper or whoever like onto their beat, onto their track, on or get a remix from somebody. And the general answer that you always got was, I'm too busy. I got shows this weekend. I'm touring. I can't do the studio session. I don't have time. Da 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 da. Whatever. All of a sudden, everybody's sitting at home and everybody's got time. You know, so you're seeing
Yeah,
all of these amazing collaborations get finished that I don't think would have seen the light of the day without this pandemic actually happening. So um, I definitely think that this has been a unique time for collaborations in terms of just the music side of it. Now, when you talk about the technology and the industry and all of that kind of side of it, you've had this sort of experience where like all of these industries have just sort of like crashed headfirst into each other, you know, music and technology, you know, live streaming and video production, you know, green screen and animation, you know. And you've had this mad sort of like trains of different industries just coming and just smashing into each other, right? And now what do we have, right? Now we've got a situation where nobody is going to be satisfied with substandard work. So I actually feel that it is lifting the expectation quite considerably in terms of what people are willing to accept. I hate mediocrity. And I think one of the biggest things, problems that we have in India is mediocrity. You know, people are willing to accept substandard shit and pass it off as if it's dope, and it's not, you know. So I think that one of the biggest things that we've seen is people's expectations for quality get significantly higher. You know, nobody wants to see you DJ in your bedroom anymore, right? If you're going to do a live
yeah,
stream and you're a DJ, you know, you should be on a green screen. It should have visuals, it should have animation. You should be playing, you know, sort of unreleased music that maybe they can't hear anywhere else. You know, what are the USPs that you're bringing to the table? You know, so I do think that collaboration has elevated the quality game, and I personally see it as a really good thing. You know, I think there's only the only way to go from here is up further.
upwards, absolutely. Uh, so upwards is good because I wanted to really know what's the future of these crafts, that you are practicing. So, um, like tattooing in Sikkim, is it going up anytime soon?
Um, you mean right now, like during the
No,
pandemic?
I mean just in this kind of a uh, way of the future that we are looking at, this future that we don't know and is forming right now. You know, things are shifting radically, and how does that affect tattooing in general and tattooing specifically where you are?
Oh, I think with the rise of social media and uh, digital stuff, I think it's really easy for us to get our clients and connect with our clients. So the pandemic was a big setback for us here. But at the same time, if it goes down, if the pandemic goes down, then it's going to grow in Sikkim. Yeah, for sure. People are
Nice, Shamli.
really open-minded about it now. And yeah,
Nice.
the stigmas are going down, like I said. And the new
Yeah,
generation is like really interested with it.
that's a whole different discussion out there.
Yeah,
It's the localized
yeah,
impact of a modern craft in a
yeah,
very
yeah. It's
traditional
yeah,
space.
yeah.
But
It's not in our
what do you
culture.
think,
It's the
Shamli?
subculture here.
Yeah, yeah. Is it like Shamli also comes from tribal areas, as you're saying, from Orissa, where I know for sure tattooing is fairly normal. You know, pagan societies have
Oh
always
no, it's
believed
very
in it.
normal.
But
It's
yeah,
actually like
yeah, those
tribal
different
tribes in Orissa. tribes in Orissa actually do have tattoos. Like they have their own
Yeah.
ancient forms of tattooing. In fact, my great grandmother used to tattoo in her tribal village, where I've like visited her as well. It's more, I think, like the inhibitions are more. I mean, I don't know. I don't know when tattoos actually became this taboo, but that has changed. That is changing pretty rapidly. And
Mm.
if I'm to speak of like my experience of living within like city limits and like traveling within India and like working from various cities, social media has been huge in terms of uh, people like educating themselves on like what is possible, and they do expect a lot more. And I mean, yeah, the tattoo artists aren't just like tattoo artists anymore world over. They're doing everything. Like it's become it's become like a space where like there are brand collaborations happening. It's like there's like packaging happening. There's yeah, it's like becoming a more like that sort of thing, and I think that will be the future in India as well, and it needs to be. Like I love the fact that Yangdol is doing merch, like album covers and merch. I think
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
I, it's an exciting space to be in right now. It is growing, and I think with the pandemic, what has happened is like I was speaking to someone recently, even in the travel industry. Like every time the lockdown sort of opens, there is like revenge traveling, call it, because suddenly
Yeah.
people have
Yeah.
like this freedom. So every time the lockdown sort of like dissipates, people just want to do things that they haven't been able to
Do
do.
so.
So come at it. Like
Yeah.
they're writing me emails like mid-pandemic as to like, will you tattoo me right now? Because I think there's this like sense of like YOLO that's happening, which is like faced with
True.
mortality. You got to do whatever you want to do and do it now. Uh, yeah.
It's. I think it's a great time for an artist to live right
Your
now.
laptop
I
charger.
mean, great strive does shit really
Your
happens.
laptop charger.
But
Yes,
Zake,
exactly. Yeah.
Zake has been a huge influence in terms of what wall art, street art is in
Zero room
India
bus.
right now. A lot of kids follow his work and are very, inspired. Where do you think that that's going, Zake? Like, where do you think street art is going? I wouldn't call it graffiti because I mean it encompasses a
Yeah,
lot
yeah.
of
I
other.
mean, yeah, yeah, of course, of course. Yeah, I mean, I think it's going really good because I don't want to paint alone anymore, man. Come on, like I want like people like with me who could paint, and but when I started, I also connected to a lot of artists who grew in India, who had some different stories, but they also were popping, in different places in India, and I could connect to them, and we could share like, like how things are in their city, and I still have like kids from northeast, like who just started to paint, like a few kids. So not every city in India has like a graffiti artist. And when I went to Germany, if you ask in a party like who's a graffiti artist, I think like 80% people will pick up their hands and be like, okay, I have also tagged once. And so I think
Yeah,
my objective like here is to make everyone realize that how like important the walls are, and like even a normal man should go and pick up and write something, like even if it's
yeah,
not like art, like because that's where I came from, and but
yeah,
I see the kids like they are doing graffiti, and they are also like now like making money through it, and they understand how it can like, because it's a culture, right? Like street art, it's like it's a culture, man. So uh, I think most of the people who didn't even know about it now have, and there is a lot of other shit also that goes on with it. But like, I think it's a great time to like be an art. And like once, I think when you were talking about how graffiti cannot like doesn't have a life on the walls, right? But now there is NFT, dude. So if the
dude, that
like my
changes
concept is
everything.
graffiti doesn't, yeah, but graffiti doesn't last, so it doesn't have a life. But then if I take a
Yeah,
picture, which is the only picture, then it's a fucking gold mine. Like,
then it's a
that's like,
Yeah, it's epic.
yeah,
yeah, yeah. That's
yeah,
Banksy's next 3 years business plan.
Oh,
I think
okay.
that's
Yeah,
most of the art. That's most of the artwork. But Zake, one thing I wanted to ask you, bro, like from what you were saying earlier, was that like, um, when you realized that you could get paid off of this, when you realized that
I have.
there was money to be made, did it affect your creative process at all? Like, did your creative process change when you knew you could get paid?
Yeah, I mean, it did to a certain extent. Like, of course, while doing client jobs, you have something called a brief, which I don't like. You know what I mean? Like, you have
Yeah,
to stay in your boundaries, in their boundaries, and work accordingly and stuff like that. So obviously, there is a limitation. Uh, and also like I also did jobs that I didn't want to do. You know, collaborate with brands I didn't want to collaborate with. So but that's a part and parcel of what like. But I still have like two people in myself, you know, like one who wants to just like one who wants to really create, and one who wants to really like destroy, like, you know, go out there and like just do the graffiti like for the sake of, I don't know why I sound bad, but like it's like I you know, I have this urge to go out and scratch on stuff. It's a
yeah.
very
You want to get
weird
up
thing, but
on as many
yeah, I
walls as
want to get
possible.
up. I
You
want to
know?
get up
Yeah,
every night. Yeah,
yeah.
that's the whole point. And
right.
I think that race, it's amazing, you know, like I see other kids now writing, and it's amazing to see that, man, like especially in a place like India where like the walls are not taken care of, you know. And even if you
Yeah,
find a simple tag, like a black color tag on the wall, you just like feel like, wow, the aesthetic is
yes,
completely changed. It's become like,
precisely.
yeah,
Yeah,
it adds so much value to the place. Like,
yeah. And not that, I come from Calcutta, so we have a long history of street art and political graffitis to rangoli style street
yeah,
carvings and more very transient sort of forms, really, and really cool. And the main thing is that it affects people, right? When it's in public spaces, it affects everybody, and it's democratic. And
yeah,
that's probably where
yeah,
we started on this idea of independence and
yeah,
democracy
yeah,
of ideas, democracy of thought, and for all forms to be existing. And to exist, we need money, and
yeah.
uh, we need we need we need to navigate that kind of structure, especially in a place like India, where mainstream basically
Mm.
blocks all of the economy. So I want to get this. We are running out of time. So quick quips from you about this. What is independent? What is mainstream? Why would you choose to be indie? Why would you? I mean, or do you consider that independent should be finally mainstream?
Mm.
Shamli, you want to
Uh,
go? Tej will
Sure.
come to you. I know that you have something.
all good, man.
Uh,
Please, go ahead.
I mean, I think like first of all, I don't think independence should be mainstream at all. I think there are several models of work which need to exist across all fields. But I think like the value that I see in independent is like having ownership of something, build like this sense of like growing something of own is where it's
Yes,
yeah.
cool. Yangdol, you're selling your art now, so uh, the Prince of Sikkim is buying it. So I'm sure
Sorry.
you've already. I know that you've sold something to the Prince of Sikkim, who commissioned
Oh yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah.
uh,
So yeah, yeah, I was
so
commissioned
yeah,
this
and the
huge
value
painting.
is then Yangdol now mainstream, or is it still independent?
Um, I'm still independent. I mean, like he gave me full independence to do whatever I wanted to do on the wall. So
Cool. Yeah.
it's on plexiglass and it's gonna go on the sliding door. So yeah,
Okay.
it was like even the
Also,
concept, everything. I made it on. I made it by myself. I presented it to him, and he really liked it. I mean, I was given full freedom. He's really cool with it, actually. He didn't have like I need one this particular thing. The best part about that was creative freedom. Yeah,
Nice.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
so
yeah.
guys, we are on to good
I think
times
mainstream
because
good.
you know
yeah.
royalty
Actually,
aristocracy is actually commissioning artists and paying them value for it.
it was actually a
But
stroke
yeah,
of luck because I was doing a pop up show uh, when the pandemic wasn't so high. His
yeah,
sister dropped by and she really liked my work and she recommended me to him, and that's how I got the job.
perfect, perfect. Zake,
Right.
you want to come in with something
Uh,
about the indie mainstream?
yeah, I mean, like I feel like there's a lot of censorship, in mainstream, and like being independent, you can say whatever the fuck you want, and like especially in a place like India where uh, uh
Thing is
we
allowed.
are
Yes.
brainwashed, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, where you are brainwashed and where you are told to do certain things, and that's how I think we are like unconventional, because we got out of that uncomfortable like life, and like, and we were like,
Right.
we are gonna say whatever we are gonna say, and you're not gonna stop us, like fuck, like, you know what I mean? So I think that's
Yeah.
being like independent, and mainstream is more like you have to act according to what they say, and everything is pre like
Yeah.
planned, and like, and there is always an agenda, like that is not really doesn't really affect everyone in a good way. It could also be something is shit, like, so I think, yeah, I love to be independent, man. Like that's, I don't even listen to
Yeah.
mainstream like shit
So
songs or
from
whatever.
the artist's angle, yeah, it obviously makes sense to be independent because you can say what you like, you can own your work, etc., etc. However, the problem is in the value chain, right? Because when it's
Hmm.
mainstream, the valuation is incredibly out of this world, and when it's
Yeah.
independent, then you're 5 rupiah barana. So Tej,
Mm.
your stage. How are you changing that
Uh,
game?
so I'll tell you what my take on this is, right? I mean, I'm gonna mirror Zake's opinion that obviously being independent, it gives you a lot of autonomy. You can kind of do yourself. You can sort of hold yourself to your own values and what you think is true, and position yourself and your work in a way that's really honest and true to yourself. But here's the reality of the world that we live in the capitalist world that we live in. And sorry if this is a slightly cynical point to end it on, but anything that is cool and independent is eventually going to be co opted by the mainstream. It doesn't matter if it's
Mm.
graffiti or it's tattoo art, or if you
Yeah,
talk about Ed Hardy and Christian or Digier or whatever. I
yeah,
mean, look at what
yeah,
we did
yeah,
with Nuclear, right? Like, Nuclear started as a
yeah.
totally underground phenomenon, and now you listen to any drop in Bollywood, it sounds like Nuclear wrote it 5 years ago. Like,
Hmm.
basically, the
Yeah.
mainstream is going to come and they are going to co opt whatever's cool about the independent and the underground thing, and they're going to take all of the worst, shittiest things about it, and they're gonna get rid of all of the stuff that's authentic and true and genuine and
Nice.
grimy and
Yes.
dirty, and they're gonna put a nice dollar bill shine on the whole thing and sell it right back to you. And sorry if that sounds really jaded and shitty to say, but I just been in the game for too long, and I've seen it from too many
So
angles.
right
So,
now is the best time.
And
No,
and
bro,
that's the
but
truth.
somewhere,
That's
you gotta
So
balance that
right
shit.
now it's the
You
best
gotta
time, I
balance it.
yes.
You
But
can.
Yeah, we'll be like
if
10 years from
it's a
now. We'll be like,
self-sustaining system, you sorry, Yangdol.
Yeah,
Exactly, like,
so,
sorry. Yeah, so I think right now is the best time to live it. All of us.
Yeah,
Like 10 years from now, we'll be like back in the day, man.
yeah.
Like right now, I think
That window,
that's
the
what I
life
mean.
can
I mean,
still
like
be made. Yeah, yeah,
like
totally.
yeah, in the
It
future
works
it's
in
gonna get
any
mainstream.
media,
So yeah, live
and
live.
soon
and
see,
I
we
see,
just
will
what
want to
I
see
live
was
it
Zake
right
saying
now.
is,
do one wall
yeah,
in
yeah,
a,
hit
yeah,
me.
in
yeah,
a
like
Sanjay
what I
Leela
was saying
Bhansali
is
film.
that, see, of course I'm gonna do it, but then I choose, right? I choose if I want to put that shit out or not. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I'm going to balance
Yeah.
it out. I'm going to make my bucks, but not show like that as my image, like, hey, I have done this shit, you
Yeah.
know? So I have total control. That's where the balance
Yeah.
comes, you know, that like, who said I don't
That's the
want to
Hmm.
thing.
make money, yaar? I want to move my grandmother to the hills. So I'm going to grind as much as I can. But I'm not going to put that out because it maybe doesn't stand for what I stand for, you know? And that's
Right.
Absolutely.
control
True.
I have because as an artist, I'm putting out my, uh, like art online. So, like, and through that, I'm getting like work. So, the best part is that about being, you can choose, like, you can choose to do whatever you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll agree with that. And I'll put my cynicism away for the day. Cheers. Happy Friday,
Yes,
guys.
please.
Cheers, dude.
We've just
Yeah.
Just
come to
cheers.
Cheers.
a moving stage. So let's all be happy for each other. And one of the key things in this conference is about key point is about collaboration and how Andre and Preeti and from All About Tattoo really believe in the idea of collaboration. The fact that we need to come together to form a larger sort of nucleus, which has more energy, it's more robust. It has all our experiences coming in and enriching the system. They've been working on it for many years, and this is a new initiative which we hope that takes off really nicely. One of the key things about this is that we uh, went with Andre's idea and came up with the collaboration of the day. This is a
Sick.
collab
Wow.
between Zake and
That's
Yangdol.
damn nice. It's
It's
beautiful.
still a work in progress. Andre, you want
Yeah.
to give the details of the what's going to happen to this artwork?
I'll come in queue.
Yes. Please, Andre. Two words about this collaboration and where this artwork is going to head.
I think what we always believe in and keep looking out for or keep pushing forward is how does the creative sector move together and work in collaboration with each other. And I mean, I just spoke to Zake about it, saying that let's do an artwork of yours, that signifies and brings up the meaning out of this panel. And when was speaking to Yangdol, and I just ran this through her, and she was like, "Oh, I'm happy to collaborate on this." And that's how a graffiti artist and a tattoo artist with her own style got together. These two guys hooked up, and they just worked together. They kind of vibed together, and they came up with this great work. And so we're going to put this artwork out on a nice print, and we're going to put it out to auction. And anybody looking or happy to support us and support the artist should definitely buy this. And that money that comes in gets shared between both the artists. Yangdol and me have an idea to make some T-shirts out of this, and please support the artist by buying the T-shirt. And also we'll do about 100 poster prints that can be sold online by everybody, and this goes out to both the artists for the beautiful collaboration. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, super cool. And that was it from us at Making Stories All About Tattoo. Thank you, Tej. Thank you, Young Dolls, Zake, and Shyamli for being here, participating in this great chat.
Thank you.
It's a it's a beginning to our post-pandemic living, and more power to the Indies.
Thank you all.
Thank you,
Yes.
Andre. Yes.
Have a lovely evening, you guys.
Thanks, guys. Thank you, Q,
Cheers.
Thanks,
for
Thank
guys.
hosting,
you.
Thank you
man.
for
Thank
being
you.
here.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
Thank you, Andre. Bye.
Thank you to our tribe, and thank you to our speakers. It was an awesome, great session. We learned a lot today. And this would not have been possible without our tech partners, Shoppertainment. So, Nipun Buddy, thanks a lot for the support. Thank you, Oka Collective, for the music. See you tomorrow at 6 p.m., where we'll be presenting Carving Your Core. Do log into allabouttattoo.in, register, and see you back tomorrow. Enjoy the evening.
Standing strong in your culture. Okay, one time.